Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today, I have something special to share with you, so get ready because this is going to be worth it.
Jesus invites us to cultivate the kingdom of heaven within us, so our external lives can come into harmony with divine order. The third Hermetic principle is vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. The divine design of creation is embedded in every part of existence, and this principle reminds us that we are both creators and reflections of the universe. Correspondence calls us to recognize that the external world is a mirror of our internal state. As above, so below, reflected in every act of love and healing that he performed. Just as Jesus taught that what is within us affects the world around us, our thoughts, emotions, and spiritual state reverberate, shaping the physical reality we experience. His ability to heal the sick, calm the storm, and even raise the dead were not acts of violation of nature, but of alignment with it. Jesus understood that the laws of the spiritual realm of faith, intention, and divine power could be harmonized with the physical world. Just as the Hermetic principle tells us that higher realms reflect lower ones, Jesus calls us to look within to discover that the sacred and the eternal are present in our very essence. When Jesus performed miracles, he demonstrated this principle of correspondence in action. The kingdom of heaven is not just a place beyond the stars, but a state of being that we can access through spiritual awareness. Jesus also spoke about this profound connection. In Luke, he declared, "The kingdom of God is within you." Here Jesus points to the same truth, that Hermeticism teaches the divine is not distant or separate from us. It exists within us, and the universe is a reflection of our inner world. This principle reveals the interconnectedness of all things, teaching us that the microcosm reflects the macrocosm, and the spiritual reflects the physical. What occurs in the heavens is mirrored on earth, and what happens within us is reflected in the world around us. The principle of mentalism teaches us that the mind is the root of all creation, and Jesus invites us to use this power wisely to align our thoughts with love, faith, and a higher purpose. The second Hermetic principle is correspondence. As above, so below, is below, so above. In this way, the teachings of Jesus go beyond moral guidance. They address a mastery of the mind, an exploration of the potential of consciousness. As we think, we become. The universe bends to the power of the mind. When Jesus said, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can move mountains," he was pointing to the power of belief. How a mind aligned with divine purpose can influence the material world. It is through focused thought and unwavering faith that we access the creative force of the universe. Jesus encouraged his followers to transform their inner world, emphasizing that true change starts from within. His message was clear: the external world is a reflection of the internal state. This mirrors the Hermetic idea that the universe is mental, created by thought, intention, and belief. Here we see the same concept. Our thoughts are not passive, they are active forces that shape our reality. What we focus on and cultivate in our minds determines who we become and how we experience the world around us. Long before this concept was recorded, Jesus was already speaking about the power of the mind and heart. As it is written in Proverbs, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." Jesus echoed this same truth, pointing to the creative force of our thoughts and intentions. In other words, everything that exists originates in consciousness. The physical world, the forces that govern it, and even our thoughts are expressions of an infinite mind. This principle tells us that reality, in its essence, is shaped by perception, thought, and consciousness. As we explore the 7 Hermetic principles, we will see how they are reflected in the words of Jesus and how these teachings converge to offer us a higher understanding of reality and the sacred. The first of the 7 Hermetic principles is mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. Both point to universal truths, principles that transcend time, culture, and religious doctrines. Could it be that in his own way, Jesus was expressing these same timeless laws that Hermeticism preserves? In the teachings of Christ, we find echoes of Hermetic wisdom. His words captivated crowds, offering profound wisdom wrapped in parables and metaphors. At first glance, these two traditions may seem distinct, tone-born in ancient Egypt and Greece, the other in the heart of Judea. But beneath the surface, they share an underlying harmony. Almost 2,000 years ago, in a small region of the Roman Empire, a master emerged who would forever alter the spiritual landscape, Jesus of Nazareth. He spoke of divine love, the nature of the soul, and the secrets of the kingdom of heaven. These principles serve as keys to comprehending the cosmos and our role as spiritual beings navigating the physical realm. For centuries, seekers of wisdom have turned to Hermeticism for insights into the mysteries of existence. But although Hermeticism may seem esoteric, its themes are not foreign. Hermeticism, a mystical tradition rooted in the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, holds that the universe operates under 7 fundamental principles, guiding forces that influence everything from the movement of stars to the thoughts in our minds. Could it be that the wisdom of Hermeticism and the message of Christ are, in their essence, one and the same? Join us as we unravel the 7 Hermetic principles according to the teachings of Jesus. In this exploration, we go beyond traditional interpretations, observing the words of Jesus not just as moral lessons, but as lexicons of universal lost timeless truths that bridge the material world and the divine. But what if these principles were not confined to esoteric texts, and in some way, were also reflected in the teachings of one of the most revered spiritual figures in history, Jesus of Nazareth? Among these teachings are the 7 Hermetic principles, ancient laws that are said to govern the very universe, offering a path to a deeper understanding. What if everything we know about the nature of the universe and our own existence is just a fraction of a much vaster knowledge hidden right before our eyes? Throughout the centuries, a hidden wisdom has been transmitted, whispering truth about reality and our place within it. This principle teaches us that opposites are not truly separate. They are different degrees of the same thing, light and darkness, hot and cold, joy and sadness, all part of the same continuum, existing only in relation to their opposite. Without one, the other could not be known. The 4th Hermetic principle is polarity. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. The universe is alive with vibration, and Jesus calls us to attune to higher frequencies of love, peace, and faith. When we do, we not only transform ourselves but also shape the world around us, participating in the divine dance of creation. Jesus demonstrated how faith, clear intention, and focused thought can transform reality itself. When he taught that faith could move mountains, he was showing us that by aligning ourselves with the correct frequency through belief, love, and divine purpose, we can influence the world around us. Were not just words, they were vibrations impregnated with enough energy to reverse the lower vibration of death. The principle of vibration teaches us that our thoughts, words, and emotions are not neutral, they are forces charged with energy. In John 11:43, when Jesus called Lazarus out of the tomb, he used the power of his voice, his own words charged with divine energy, to restore life to a body that had ceased to vibrate. Lazarus, come forth. When he healed the sick, he elevated their vibrational state. He understood that illness, pain, and suffering were manifestations of lower vibrations, and by infusing them with higher frequencies of love, compassion, and faith, he could restore balance and health. "Peace, be still," he said, and the chaotic vibrations of the storm quieted into perfect serenity. His words carried a vibration strong enough to influence nature itself. The miracles of Jesus were not mere divine interventions, but demonstrations of how all things vibrate at different frequencies. Jesus also understood the power of vibration, and although he did not use that language, his actions and words reflect a deep awareness of energetic movement. When Jesus calmed the storm in Mark, he did not merely silence the physical winds and waves, he harmonized the underlying energy. At the core of this principle is the understanding that everything in the universe, from the smallest particle to the largest star, is in constant motion. Even what appears solid is vibrating at a molecular level. This rhythm of energy permeates all creation, shaping the structure of reality. His miracles also reflected this natural flow, whether calming storms or restoring life. Jesus operated in alignment with the rhythms of creation. He understood the importance of moving in harmony with the cycles established by the Creator. Jesus recognized these rhythms of life, tides of birth and death. Sowing and Rhea understood that existence itself is a constant movement guided by sacred time. Jesus also spoke of these rhythms in his teachings, often referring to the divine timing of all things. To everything, there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven, as we are reminded in Ecclesiastes. The fifth principle is rhythm. The tides rise and fall, the sun rises and sets. The seasons change in perfect harmony. In the natural world, rhythm is a constant, teaching us that everything flows and that life moves in inevitable cycles. Jesus teaches us that to understand the fullness of life, we must accept both joy and suffering, strength and fragility, and by doing so, we rise above the polarities that seem to divide us. Jesus invited his followers to see beyond the surface of duality and recognize the unity behind it. Finally, the opposites we encounter in life are not in conflict, they are in harmony, constantly flowing into each other as part of the divine plan. Through this sacrifice, we encounter true, eternal, and unshakable life. The principle of polarity reminds us that every experience, whether joy or pain, contains its opposite. It is by embracing both sides of the spectrum that we find balance and transcend the illusion of separation. In Luke 9:24, Jesus says, "For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for my sake will save it." This profound statement is another reflection on polarity. To truly live, one must embrace death of the ego, the death of attachment to the material world. Just as light cannot exist without darkness, greatness cannot exist without the experience of humility. Jesus showed us that by embracing the extremes of life, both the highs and the lows attain spiritual fullness. Throughout his ministry, Jesus taught that humility leads to greatness, that life arises from death, and that strength resides in weakness. These teachings are not contradictions, but insights into the truth of polarity. This statement goes beyond a moral lesson. It is an expression of the Hermetic principle of polarity. What seems oppositeless and first, high and low are part of the same divine cycle, constantly transforming and renewing. Jesus often spoke about these opposites and their deeper spiritual significance. His teachings are filled with paradoxes that reflect truth within duality. In Matthew 20:16, he declared, "So the last will be first and the first last." His healing touch was not merely physical, it was spiritual, planting seeds of faith, hope, and forgiveness, the effects of which were transformative not only for the individuals healed, but for the entire community around them. The seeds we plant, whether they are of kindness, love, or selfishness, will one day bear fruit. Just as the soil determines the destiny of the seed, so do our hearts shape the outcomes of our actions. In every miracle, Jesus demonstrated this principle in action. He knew that our actions, words, and even thoughts expand, affecting not only our lives but the world around us. Through parables such as that of the sower, Jesus emphasized the importance of intention and action. This teaches us that for every seed we plant, there is a harvest, whether for good or for ill. Jesus echoed this timeless wisdom when he said, "A man reaps what he sows," Galatians 6:7. His teachings consistently pointed to the universal truth of consequences. Just as night follows day, so healing follows difficulty, and growth follows loss. The sixth Hermetic principle is cause and effect. In the universe, nothing happens by chance. Every action has a reaction, and every cause has its effect. In his words echoed this universal truth: weeping may endure for a night, But joy comes in the morning, Psalm 305. The principle of rhythm reminds us that we must trust in the divine timing of all things, understanding that each moment, each season, each rhythm is part of a greater sacred cycle. As we follow the example of Jesus, we learn that even the smallest act of kindness carries the power to transform the world. Cause and effect are not just a law of nature, but a divine principle guiding our spiritual journey, urging us to live with purpose and intention. The principle of cause and effect reminds us to act with intention, knowing that the seeds we plant today, whether of kindness or indifference, will inevitably bear fruit tomorrow with the measure you use. It will be measured back to you, Luke 6:38. Every thought, word, and deed triggers a chain of events that often goes beyond what we can see or understand. Jesus taught us that our choices have both immediate and eternal consequences, shaping not only our lives, but the very spiritual fabric of the world.